The weight of Azazel. The air itself was a confession, thick with the unsaid sins of 1,000 souls. Before the tabernacle, Aaron the high priest stood, clad not in gold and glory, but in the stark, sterile white of a shroud. He felt the collective guilt of his people as a physical pressure, a crushing weight upon his own bones, a promise of the terrible intimacy with God that awaited him beyond the veil. 2 goats, identical in their unknowing innocence, were brought before him. In his hands, Aaron held the lots, smooth, cold stones of judgment. One was for the Lord, a life to be given in fire. The other was for Azazel, a life to be burdened and cast into the void. The silence of the crowd was absolute as his hands trembled, deciding a fate ordained by a power he could only serve and fear. First, the blood of a bull, an offering for his own fragile mortality, his own secret failings. The knife was an extension of divine will, and the life that spilled upon the dust was a prayer spoken in a language older than words. The hot steam rose to meet the cold dread in his heart. This was the price of standing between humanity and the terrifying purity of God. He pushed through the veil, entering the Holy of Holies. The air was unbreathable, thick with incense, and a presence that vibrated in his teeth. He was a trespasser in the heart of creation. As commanded, he filled the space with smoke to cloud his vision, to shield his mortal eyes from a glory that would annihilate him. He sprinkled the blood, his every motion a desperate plea for mercy. He emerged, gasping, and turned to the goat chosen for the Lord. More blood was shed, a cleansing torrent to sanctify the holy places, to wash the stains of human touch from the objects of God. The crimson on the gold of the altar was a visceral reminder: that which is holy is jealous, and that which is profane must be purged. Then came the second goat, the vessel. Aaron pressed both hands upon its head, and the confession began. It was not a quiet prayer, but a raw, agonized torrent of words, naming the rebellion, the deceit, the idolatry of the people. He felt the darkness pour from his soul, a filth that flowed through his hands and into the beast, which shuddered under the unholy weight. He handed the rope to Zadok, the man appointed for the wilderness. Their eyes met, and in that shared gaze was an understanding of the terrible burden being transferred. Zadok was not just leading an animal, he was escorting the concentrated sin of a nation into exile. His face was a mask of grim resolve. Zadok walked, and the wilderness warped around him. The sun bled across the sky, and the rocks seemed to whisper the sins the goat now carried. He heard the echoes of lies and betrayals on the wind. The creature at his side was no longer an animal, but a magnet for all that was corrupt, pulling the shadows toward it. He reached the precipice, a wound in the earth that fell away into blackness. This was the place the scriptures called Azazel. With a final, desperate shove, he sent the creature tumbling into the abyss. There was no sound of it landing, only the sudden, deafening silence of a great weight being lifted from the world. The air grew clean and cold. Back at the camp, Aaron submerged himself in the bronze laver, washing away the blood and the lingering touch of sin. The terror of the ritual receded, leaving behind a fragile, hollowed-out piece. Atonement was made. But as he donned the glorious robes of his office once more, he knew this peace was temporary. The darkness would gather again, and in a year's time, the price would have to be paid once more.